Hi students. Welcome to College Curiosity YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe the channel.
Good morning, dear students. In the previous audio clip, we learned how the process of communication takes place with the aid of language. So, linguistics is of very importance, is of much significance when it comes to learning a language. So always linguistics or the scientific study of a language is possible only with reference to a particular language, and in our case it is the English language. So in this audio clip I shall examine the interrelation or the interconnection that exists between language and phonetics. Or why should we learn? Why should we know more about phonetics? Or what is the position of the approach, position of phonetics in the field of language? Both linguistics and phonetics are interconnected, or they are grounded. Both linguistics and phonetics are grounded in the basic interest, that is, in the nature of human communication. You see, the subject of linguistics is much broad because it deals with the scientific study of the nature, use, and variety of all aspects of language. I have made it very clear in the previous audio clip what I mean by the phrase all aspects of language. Whereas the subject of phonetics is much more narrower in the sense that it is the scientific study of the nature, use, and variety of all aspects of speech, all nuances associated with speech. But you see, both these subjects, linguistics and phonetics, have grown in importance in the second half of the 20th century. Anyway, the intersection of linguistics and phonetics in the study of spoken language is of much relevance. And linguistics, in a broader way, contributes to phonetics, the phonological understanding of a language. We are able to understand by way of linguistics. By studying linguistics, we are able to understand the distinctive patterns that make up the so-called conventional patterns of speech. So, in this audio clip, I shall deal specifically with phonetics. What is phonetics? Phonetics is the scientific study of a language. Phonetics, on the other hand, why is phonetics important? Because, as I told you, speech is of primary significance, and a language always lives on the lips of the speakers, and speech is a representation of our feelings. And how do we communicate our feelings and thoughts? By way of words. Words are again made up of sounds, different sounds. So spoken language or speech is primary, and so hence the relevance of studying phonetics. So what do you mean by the term phonetics? Phonetics is nothing but the scientific study of the different sounds that exist in a language. In our case, it is the English language. And when it comes to phonetics, you see, when we deal with phonetics, we are concerned only with the way how speech sounds are produced, and these sounds are produced with reference to no particular language. You see, human beings across the world have the same physiological makeup, physiological features. All human beings are endowed with vocal cords, with pharynx, larynx, the different organs of speech, the so-called different organs of speech. So, phonetics, to be more specific, deals with the scientific study. It is a scientific analysis of how the speech sounds are produced with the so-called organs of speech. So, we undertake the study of phonetics with reference to no particular language as such. So, again, I am recapitulating what I have pointed out. Phonetics, the concern of phonetics is therefore not with any particular language, but on the contrary, it deals with the articulation, the transmission, and the reception of the various speech sounds. You see, these three terms are very, very important. These are three technical terms in the field of phonetics. Articulation, the initial stage is that of articulating a sound. Then it is transmitted across the air in the form of sound waves. And finally, you receive as a listener, you receive the speech sounds. So these three terms, articulation, transmission, and reception, are very, very important. And in this context, I would like to point out that a cough or a sneeze is not a speech sound. So what I mean to say is that phonetics deals with the articulation, transmission, and reception of meaningful speech sounds with reference to no particular language as such. So, phonetics is relevant to the study of the phonological system of a language. What we mean by phonology, we will discuss in the next class. So, today I shall deal with the classification of phonetics. So, phonetics in general deals with the articulation, transmission, and reception of speech sounds. And phonetics has three main aspects, or in other words, phonetics is divided into three interrelated fields. The first one, as I have already pointed out, it is the articulation of speech sounds, and it is what is this is what is technically termed that particular area of phonetics that deals with the articulation or the production of speech sounds is technically covered under articulatory phonetics. So the first main classification of phonetics is that of articulatory phonetics. First, we are supposed to produce the speech sounds, and therefore articulatory phonetics is of much practical relevance, because speech in general is nothing but voluntarily produced sounds. And how are these sounds voluntarily produced by human beings? They are produced with the help of various speech organs or organs of speech. So the main concern of articulatory phonetics is with those speech organs which constitute the entire human speech mechanism. So first we produce a speech, and our speech sounds are modified by the air stream which is situated in the lungs, emanating from the lungs. Then it crosses the throat and its allied parts. Then speech sounds come out through our lips. So that is how speech sounds are produced. So that is all about articulatory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics deals with the manner of production of speech sounds. The next important term which we have to keep in mind is that of transmission. So the various speech, or with the help of the various organs of speech, we produce speech sounds, and the speech sounds travel across the air. How do they travel? They travel across the air in the form of sound waves, and that comes under acoustic phonetics. ACOUSTIC. So the next important level of the study of phonetics is that of acoustic phonetics. Acoustic phonetics deals with a scientific study of how the speech sounds, how our speech sounds are transmitted across the air in the form of sound waves. And finally, we have what is called, or what is technically termed, auditory phonetics. What do you mean by auditory phonetics? As I have already mentioned, there are three important aspects to be reckoned with while studying phonetics. They are articulation, transmission, and reception. So, auditory phonetics is nothing but it is the way, it refers to the way in which the sound waves are perceived by the listener, perceived by the person at the receiving end. So these are the three main levels of involved in the study of phonetics. So just to recapitulate what I have already discussed, first and foremost, you have to keep in mind that the main the difference that exists between linguistics and phonetics. Linguistics is a much broader term, whereas phonetics is only a sub area of linguistics. And why do we learn phonetics, or why is it mandatory for us to know more about the field of phonetics? Because speech always lives on the lips of the speakers, and therefore it is essential for us humans to know how these speech sounds are produced. And phonetics helps us to understand the way in which we produce speech sounds, how they are transmitted, and how they are received by the listeners. And phonetics has three main levels of study. It involves three main levels of study. First is articulatory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics deals with the manner of production of speech sounds, and it is of much practical importance as far as linguists or phoneticians are concerned. The second important aspect of phonetics is that of auditory phonetics, which relates to the transmission of speech sounds in the form of sound waves. And finally, we have auditory phonetics, which refers to the way in which our ideas and emotions are received by the speaker. So that is all about the three main levels involved in the study of phonetics. Thank you.